Hi everybody, got to talk about the big hire that Oklahoma just made, and no, it was not in men's basketball. I don't think Joe Castiglione, the OU AD, is going to be filling that vacancy until the NCAA tournament is over, or until Marquette's season is over, if they can get Buzz Williams. We'll talk about that in a second, because that seems to be the big buzz right now when it comes to the men's basketball program. Can Oklahoma get Williams? We'll talk about that in a second. But first, got to talk about the big hire that OU made. Has nothing to do, actually, with coaching. Has everything to do, though, with the media and the new voice for Oklahoma Sooner athletics. It's Toby Rowland? Yep, Toby Rowland. Now, if you don't live in Oklahoma, you're probably not going to know who he is. Around Oklahoma, especially in the metro area, you should know who he is if you watch local sports. Weekend sports anchor for Channel 9, a CBS affiliate in Oklahoma City, and he's also the morning sports host for KREF, the Ref Radio Sports Network, AM 1400, and he'd also done some sideline reporting for the Sooner Sports Network for the past couple of seasons on the very network that he will now be the play-by-play voice for. So far, there's no word as far as whether or not Merv Johnson will be back to be the color commentator, and no, there's not any news, at least none that I can find, on who the new sideline reporter will be. But the big buzz about Toby Rowland's hire is that this is a guy that virtually has no play-by-play experience, at least not in football. Has a little bit in women's basketball, but as far as men's basketball and football, the two sports that he will be the play-by-play voice for, very, very little experience. That's been the big buzz amongst those who did not get fired up or approve of Joe Castiglione's choice. So why did Castiglione pick him over somebody else? I have my own reasons. I think, number one, he wanted somebody who is very multidimensional. Toby Rowland fits that bill. Does television, does radio, did sideline reporting, interviews. He wanted somebody who's done a little bit of everything as far as the broadcasting business goes, and somebody who's been around for a while. Rowland's been around since, I think, 1999 or 2000, but he's been around for over a decade as far as local sports go. Number two, he wanted somebody with lots of personality, somebody who has a sense of humor, and Rowland definitely has both of those. If you've listened to his morning talk show on AM 1400, which I do from time to time, it is at times funny. The guy does have personality. Three, Castiglione wanted somebody pretty knowledgeable about sports, and I can tell you this much, Rowland is very talented and definitely knows sports, especially Sooner athletics. But I think the one thing that people don't really think about when it comes to why Castiglione made this hire, I think he made this hire because he wants somebody who's going to be the voice of Sooner athletics for a long time. Castiglione does not want this particular job to be a springboard for another play-by-play job for somebody down the road. In other words, if you hire someone to do this job, you want to make sure they're going to be there for a long time. Rowland's only 37 years old, and if he develops into the type of play-by-play voice that a lot of fans, including myself, believe he'll be, then 20, 25 years from now, he'll still be the voice of Sooner athletics. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to call somebody the play-by-play voice of Oklahoma athletics and only have them there for 5 or 6 years because they took a job in a bigger market or took a different type of job doing something else in a bigger market. So I think that's another big reason why Castiglione did not go with Bob Carpenter, who initially I thought he would go for, because Carpenter has local ties. He's a Tulsa native, somebody who's done play-by-play. Matter of fact, he is the play-by-play television voice for the Washington Nationals baseball team and was the sports anchor for ESPN's College Game Day before Chris Fowler got the job back in 1990. So the resume of Carpenter is impeccable, but Castiglione didn't go with him, although Carpenter was interested in the job. And could have gone with Brian Brinkley, who's a local personality, the weekend sports anchor for the NBC affiliate, KFOR Oklahoma City. He's done women's basketball play-by-play for a pretty long time, and he's got personality as well. That would not have been a bad choice either. But I do think Castiglione went with Rowland for the very reasons that we talked about: versatility, personality, knowledgeable, and also somebody who's still, in terms of the play-by-play business, a pretty young guy, only 37, and somebody 20, 30 years from now will more than likely still be in Oklahoma. Rowland's been in Oklahoma this whole time. Went to high school in Oklahoma, went to college at Southern Nazarene, and now has the title of the voice of Sooner Athletics, and I believe he'll do a pretty good job in this particular field. Not an easy field. You're talking to somebody who did play-by-play for about 6 years in West Texas back in the 90s in football, basketball, baseball. Had a passion for it, loved it. But I tell you what, you have to be on your toes. Got to know names, got to know how to pronounce the names, and you have to be able to be very descriptive of the action. Another thing too, you have to be able to talk even when there's no action going on. That's probably the toughest part, is when the players are in the huddle and you need to cover up that dead space of air. That's what we call in the broadcast business. So it's definitely not an easy job, but it is a job in which, if you do have the passion for it and if you are in tune to what's going on, you could be very good at it. Bill Teagans didn't have any play-by-play experience when he took the Oklahoma State play-by-play job back in 1991, and for the next 9 years did a good job with football as well as with basketball. So, Rowland, I think you're going to have a lot of Sooner fans, including myself, behind you. Think you'll do a good job, and look forward to hearing your broadcast once the football season comes around. Matter of fact, he'll make his debut in April for the OU spring game. That will be broadcasted, I believe, on KOKC 1520, or it'll be on KRXO 1077, or maybe both stations. Finally, getting back to what I talked about at the beginning, will Oklahoma hire Buzz Williams? If they do, they're going to have to pay a pretty hefty penny, because the longer Marquette stays in this tournament, the team he's currently coaching for, I think the higher his price goes up, and they're going to have to pay him a lot more money than what they paid Capel. And Capel, Oklahoma was paying about $1 million a year before they fired him last year, or last week I should say. And it looks like you'd probably have to pay Williams about double, about $2 million a year, because I think Williams is going to command that much to come to Oklahoma and leave what I think he has a pretty good job already at Marquette. We'll see if Williams is interested. We'll see what happens with Oklahoma's future in men's basketball. We'll talk more about that in the upcoming weeks. That's all for now. Boomer Sooner.